Day Team Telco, as we continue to try to understand how to become world-class leaders and managers in the Telco 1058 context. In this video, we will explore something around understanding productivity, and this is part one of this one. And in this session, we're going to try and understand the cost of misallocated time, specifically management time. So, in order to illustrate this whole concept of the cost of misallocated management time, we're going to look at a management scenario where managers spend their time in a particular way. Not to say that they're not working, but they spend their time doing tasks and work which is not management time tasks and work. And if you remember in a previous recording and video, we talked about the fact that managers should spend 80% of their time doing thinking work and only 20% of their time doing work, because the thinking work is the high leverage work that produces the high leverage Pareto results. So let's have a look at this management scenario. Let's say we've got a company with 10 managers in it, and each of these managers is paid $1,000 every month. And the expectation of these 10 managers is that they work an average of 200 hours per month. This means that the rate per hour of each of those managers is $5 per hour. That is $1,000 per month divided by the 200 hours that they're expected to work. That's $5 per hour. And let us further say that the average management day is comprised of about 10 hours of work. We know that managers probably work more hours than their clerical or line function colleagues. So therefore, the manager's rate per day is $10, $5 times 10 hours per day, which is $50 per day. So if the manager is spending their time accurately and correctly, doing 80% of their time spent on thinking work and 20% of their time spent on doing work, what will then effectively happen is that the $40, out of the $50 that they're paid per day, $40 has been allocated towards the manager doing the thinking work, and $10 has been allocated towards the manager doing the doing work. That is 8 hours doing thinking work, 2 hours doing work. And the $40 plus the $10 adds up to the $50 per day that the manager is paid. And this, according to the company, is the correct allocation of time, the correct allocation of financial resources towards the manager's day. Let's take a look at a scenario where a manager isn't working in those correct proportions and therefore is somewhat misallocating their management time. Let us say that instead of doing only 2 hours of doing work, the manager actually spends 6 hours per day doing the doing work, which is stuff that should be being done by the people that they manage in their line function. And then let's say because they spend 6 hours out of their 10-hour day doing work, they've only got 4 hours to spend on thinking work, where they should be spending 8 hours doing thinking work. So therefore, the actual doing work is costing the company 6 hours times $5 per hour, which is equal to $30. It should only be costing the company $10 for the manager to spend time doing the doing work. So in terms of the authorized doing work, they're only supposed to spend 2 hours doing authorized doing work, which is they're authorized to only spend $10 of the company's time in doing work, which means at the end of the day, 30 minus 10 is they're wasting, or they are losing the company $20 per day. That's $30 that is actually being spent on the doing work minus the $10 that is actually authorized for them. They're losing $20 per day in doing work that is unauthorized. Let's say that each of these managers works an average of 20 days per month. It's actually more like 22 to 26 days. But for the simplicity of our calculation, let's say that the managers spend 20 days in the month working. And so the accumulated loss to the company on unauthorized hours is $20 per day times 20 working days in the month, which is, in our scenario here, $400 per month. And if each and every one of those managers is losing time in that proportion or wasting time doing unauthorized doing work in that proportion, that means 10 managers times $400 per month is $4,000 per month. And if we look at the annual loss of $4,000 per month times 12 months, we're looking at losing close on 50,000 US dollars per year. Now, of course, we know that this is a fictional scenario because managers earn everywhere along the earning curve from anywhere below the $1,000 to anywhere way above the $1,000. And so we understand that this scenario could become much, much worse. And it's not just about $50,000, but you could find that managers are losing the company in terms of this kind of a scenario anywhere up to $200,000 aggregately per year. Now, what could a company do with $200,000? I think there are many, many things that a company could do with $200,000. What could a company do with $50,000 in the year? There are vehicles that could be purchased, at least two. There are various initiatives that could be made, branches that could be opened, and many, many other things that a company could do with $50,000 if managers were saving that and were not losing it in lost time and lost opportunity cost. So this scenario, if well understood, is therefore the reason why it is critically important that time, just like money in a business, is accounted for accurately. So here are some of the reasons why it's critical to account for the time of managers and executives. Number one, to track the expenditure of the most important service business resource, which is time. And number two, to create alignment with the strategic goals of the organization. Number three, it's important to track time for managers and executives in order to create accountability. Number four, in order to manage losses that are related to time resource misallocation. If you don't account for something, you never know how you're spending it. And if you don't know how you're spending it, you don't know how to manage it. You cannot manage that which you do not measure. And then number five, to create a feedback loop for processes and priority improvements. So the next steps that we're going to ask you as a manager or an executive to do is to clarify your action priority matrix and then set up your time accounting structure. And then finally, to keep track of your time transactions. And largely, you're going to do this through your project tasks and your time sheeting. Should you need any further information about how to further do this or guidance, please don't hesitate to contact me or any of your EXCO members who will be fully clued up on how you can account for your most valuable resource, which is your time. Have a fantastic day, Team Telco.